So just to introduce myself, my name's Matt. I'm an ex-primary school teacher and deputy head in Somerset. I've always been passionate about teaching children to use technology effectively, but also safely. My role these days is that I work as a computing online safety advisor for Somerset Council, and that's through the ELiM team. You can probably see the ELiM, or you can see the ELiM logo on the screen there. I've deliberately put all of my contact details there on the screen, and you'll get these slides as well, so that you can follow up with any questions, any comments, anything you want to talk about in relation to anything I say this afternoon. And if you do want to sign up for our newsletter, I've put the link there for that as well, so that you can get regular updates that we send out about online safety. I really want to talk from a school's perspective this afternoon. I realise that some people, some of the participants today are from schools and others are not. So I want to talk to you about what the school's perspective on effective online safety education is, the importance of that effective online safety education, what effective approaches look like, and also some things that we do as ELiM to support schools with that as well. So schools always have to start with the national curriculum, and the national curriculum in England tells us that effective computing provision ensures that pupils become digitally literate, able to use and express themselves and develop their ideas through information and communication technology. And this is the bit, at a level suitable for the future workplace and as active participants in a digital world. And if anybody ever asks me why I'm interested in my job and why I moved from teaching into focusing purely on computing and online safety, I would say that that probably sums it up. I really believe strongly that technology has a huge part to play in children's lives, not just in the future, but now as well. And I want children to grow up feeling confident about that, being able to make effective use of technology, understand what it can do for them, understand the potential it's got to support them in their lives, in their jobs, how people use it outside school, but also the importance and skills to be able to use technology safely, both for themselves and for other people. So one of the things we've got to consider as schools is what that digital world looks like. So I've just picked up some statistics here. This is every minute on the internet in 2024, and I realise that those stats are probably quite small for you. So I've just picked a few of them out here for you just to share. So every minute in 2024, Amazon shoppers spend $455,000. 41.6 million WhatsApp messages are sent, 4 million posts are liked on Facebook. 69.4 thousand Taylor Swift songs are streamed. I'm not a single one of those, I must admit. 6.3 million Google searches, 747 Airbnb bookings. And this is the one that really blows my mind. 25.1 million hours are spent online every minute in 2024. So this is the world that our children are growing up in. It's very different from the world that any of us grew up in, no matter what our age. You know, as Will said, it's changing incredibly rapidly. So as I said before, it's vital that children are growing up feeling confident about technology, understand how it can be harnessed to benefit their lives, but also that we're teaching them and talking to them about the potential risks and harms associated with that technology. So I've just got a very short video just to get you thinking about the future that our children might be growing up into. So as that video says, predicting the future isn't easy. Our children are growing up into a future that, and we don't know what it's going to look like. So as the national curriculum says, we want children to grow up being digitally literate at a level suitable for the future workplace as active participants in a digital world, but a world that we don't know exists yet. So it's really, really important that we're doing this well. And just to pick up actually on some of the things that Will was saying and some of the things that Steve was saying earlier on, it's really important that our online safety conversations are balanced, that we're highlighting positive uses of technology as well as talking about the potential risks and harms. So I've just got a couple of statistics here from Internet Matters. 63% of parents believe time online negatively impacts their children's health. 2/3 of children report experiencing online harms. We're used to seeing those headlines. We see them all the time. They grab our attention. It's very easy to look at them and feel gloomy about the outlook for children. What we don't tend to see is the opposite of those things, but there are really positive things going on online as well. So, for example, 75% of children view technology and the internet as important to their independence. 2/3 of children say spending on time online makes them feel mostly happy. So it's really, really important that we're balancing our online safety messages. Children tell us that if they only ever hear adults telling them what not to do and about the dangers of technology, and they shouldn't be doing this and they shouldn't be doing that and they're too young for this, they're much less likely to listen when we want to talk to them about the risks and harms and actually educate them about it. So balance is absolutely key. Of course, if we want to be balanced and we want to be informed, we need to be teaching children about the risks that they might be exposed to as well. So, of course, as Will said earlier on, these risks are ever evolving. It's changing all the time, but they can be categorized. So a good way to remember that and a good way to think about it and the way that schools tend to approach it is through the 4 C's. So the first of those 4 C's is content, being exposed to illegal, inappropriate, or maybe harmful content. The second C is contact, being subjected to harmful online interaction with other users. Conduct, which is online behavior that increases the likelihood or causes harm. And the fourth one is contract, which is sometimes called commerce, but that's risks around things like online gambling, inappropriate advertising, phishing, financial scams, including the sextortion as well that Will was talking about earlier on. And it's also important to recognise that although there are these 4 categories, that actually they overlap, and there are lots of cross-cutting risks that are faced by children, and they very rarely fit really neatly into one of those columns. But it's useful in terms of planning and making sure that we've got coverage, talking to children about all the different risks and harms that they need to be aware of. From a school's point of view, we've got guidance from a range of documents, and you can see lots of those appearing on the screen now. And although these are documents mostly for schools, they would be really useful, and most of the principles in them would apply to non-education settings as well. One of the key themes, and this is one that I strongly believe in, and why it's really useful to talk to some people here who are not from schools, is that online safety provision is at its best and at its most effective when everybody works together. So schools, local authorities, the police, charities, the children themselves, parents and their families. So it's really, really important that we're all singing from the same hymn sheet. And I've just picked just a few key quotes and key references out of some of these documents today, but there's a huge amount of guidance for schools these days around online safety. So I've started with keeping children safe in education, and those of you who work in education will know that this is the statutory guidance. We all have to absolutely be aware of this guidance and can't veer away from it. It's absolutely important, and schools have training on this guidance every single year. But for many years now, it's recognised, keeping children safe in education is recognised that online safety isn't a separate issue. It's an integral part of safeguarding. It used to be an annex. It used to be an additional bit at the end of keeping children safe. These days, it's threaded all the way through. And the expectation is that everybody in school understands that, and they take action around it just like they would with any other safeguarding issue. There's an expectation that one of the senior leadership team should take lead responsibility for online safety, and that includes these days things that teachers don't have any expertise in, like filtering and monitoring, but it's expected that a key member of SLT oversees that and makes sure that schools are a safe place for children, and that we're also talking to children and teaching children about online safety regularly. Again, keeping children safe in education recognises that technology is a significant component in many safeguarding and wellbeing issues. Again, this isn't a separate thing. Often risks will take place both online and offline at the same time, and that can include children abusing other children. And it also makes it clear that online safety education should be planned for. This isn't something that we can wait and see what goes wrong and then deal with whatever the outcomes are. We need to be proactive. We need to be planning for it. And interestingly as well, the Keeping Children Safe in Education recommends that this is part of the RSHE curriculum, not part of the computing curriculum. So although there is reference to children keeping themselves safe with technology in the computing curriculum, there are a lot more references to online safety in the RSHE curriculum, because really when you're talking about online safety, you're talking about relationships, you're talking about behavior, getting on and falling out, what to do if you're worried about something, how to keep yourself healthy, keep yourself safe. That's RSHE. It just happens to be with technology. So I'm often talking to schools about kind of coordination between the computing lead, the DSL, the designated safeguarding lead, and the RSHE coordinator. It's really important that this is seen as a kind of cross-cutting theme across all of those areas. And then another document that I've picked out, which is guidance for schools, is called Teaching Online Safety in Schools. It's non-statutory, but we always refer to it as essential. And what's really good about it, what I like about it, is that it doesn't talk about teaching children to use Facebook safely or teaching children about the dangers of Instagram. What it talks about is underpinning knowledge and behaviours that can help pupils navigate the online world safely and confidently, regardless of the device, platform, or app. The apps are going to change. The websites they like are going to change. The TV or YouTube channels they watch, I nearly said TV then, it's more likely to be YouTube, channels that they watch are going to change. But it's that underpinning knowledge and underpinning behavior that is absolutely key to children keeping themselves safe, that they can transfer from one experience to another. It also says, and we're really pleased that this is in there, that this isn't about providing a list of what not to do. It should be about helping children to gain the skills, gain the confidence to make informed decisions themselves, make those decisions themselves. And also emphasizes the importance of adults understanding the risks, so that online safety is really relevant. Will was talking earlier on about the importance of pupil voice, so I'm going to talk about that in a second as well. In order to be able to tailor your teaching, support the specific needs of your pupils. So you can have this pre-planned, really clearly thought through RSHE curriculum that links with computing and make sure you're covering everything in terms of online safety, but you also need to be listening to your children, finding out what they're doing and talking to them and their families about those specific things. And there again is that ongoing theme of whole school approaches, and I would say it goes wider than just school. It's about everybody working together. I was really pleased just now to hear Will talking about the importance of pupil voice, about children having a voice in this area, because that's one of the things that we advocate for as well. And we provide to support schools with that, and anybody else that's interested in having a look as well. We actually support schools by providing free online safety survey templates. So on our website, on that link that you can see there on the screen, there's free surveys that you can use with children. There's also a survey that you can use with parents. And in addition to that, there's a list of online safety pupil voice questions, and those are designed to prompt kind of longer, more open-ended conversations. So the surveys are kind of ticking things, and then the software does the hard work for you. It gives you the results so that you can see trends in your school, that kind of thing. But the pupil voice questions are about having more open-ended conversations with them. And we know that schools, sometimes school governors use those questions to talk to key groups of children in the school and then feed back to the staff, that kind of thing. Just to return back to the teaching online safety in school guidance, again, what we like about this guidance is that it doesn't just talk about risks. It also talks about the fact that we want children to understand the positive and exciting opportunities as well as the challenging risks. We want children to be able to make the best use of the internet and technology, but in a safe, considered and respectful way. So again, just to really repeat myself and reiterate this point and the points that Will was making earlier on, this isn't about stopping children from doing stuff. It's about giving them the skills, the knowledge, the confidence to be able to make informed decisions. I've just picked out some statistics from Ofcom here as well, which are from earlier this year, just to show that this education really needs to start as early as possible. So in schools, that means our earliest foundation stage children. These statistics show us that even these children own their own smartphone, use social media independently, take part in online gaming. So it's really important that we're educating children right from the start. As soon as we meet them, we start having conversations with them about keeping themselves safe online. And the other thing that teaching online safety in schools does to support us with delivering an effective online safety curriculum is breaks the risks and harms down into 3 key areas. So the first of those is how to navigate the internet and manage information. The second is how to stay safe online. And the third one is well-being, and that's both physical and mental well-being. Just to give you a minute or so break from listening to my voice, just have a look at those 3 key areas, have a look at the bullet points, and it'd be really interesting to see if you could feedback in the QA box, just to see if there are any themes for you in your role, whatever your role is, working with children. All of these risks are relevant to all children in an age-appropriate way. But which ones would you say are most relevant to the children that you work with? So I just want to give you a minute to respond to that, and I'll stay quiet for a minute here. So Valerie, thanks Valerie, has said privacy settings and fake profiles. And again, thanks Valerie. So one of the things I'm encouraging you to do here is really consider, for the children that you work with, which of these are the most relevant, how can you make your conversations with children as relevant as possible to the things they're experiencing, and make sure that as part of that conversation you're asking them these questions. What kinds of things are they doing online? Who are they doing them with? Are their parents aware of the kinds of things they're doing? So do have those conversations with children so that you can make sure whatever you're talking to them about is as relevant as possible. One of the risks that we hear a lot of headlines about is screen time. So again, I've just chosen this Internet Matters statistic here that shows us that 71% of parents of 6 to 10-year-olds are concerned about screen time. We hear about screen time all the time. So just ask yourself, how long do you think you spend online each day as an adult? Interestingly, in 2023, UK adults spent on average more than 3.5 hours per day online, which is roughly equivalent, according to the NSPCC, to a Key Stage 2 child who spends around 3 to 4 hours on devices on a non-school day. In fact, it would be easy to argue that adults are always online. We've always got our phones in our pockets, in our bags. They're always on. They're ready to, we can just have a quick look at our latest notifications. So the reason for me making this point is just to emphasize the point that children learn as much from what they see us doing as adults as they do from what we say to them. So it's quite often the case that we're saying one thing to children but modeling the opposite. So when we're giving children messages about their screen time, for example, we need to be really carefully considering what they're seeing us doing, because we might be potentially giving them a mixed message, and that's a really key part of helping families to understand. That can be really important. I can see that there's a few more responses now coming through, so thank you to Sophia and Carly and other people who've responded to my question. So and different things coming through as well, which is interesting. I want to draw your attention to this Internet Matters, these Internet Matters resources, which are really helpful in terms of supporting families with guidance for healthy screen time. But it is, whilst this guidance is really, really important, it is really also important to note that every child is unique. There aren't any guidelines that say all five-year-olds should have this much screen time, all 9-year-olds should have this much screen time, because every 5-year-old and every 9-year-old's different and have different circumstances. And the other thing to note, of course, is that not all screen time is the same. Half an hour scrolling through Instagram is very different from half an hour spent on a video call talking to your auntie who lives in Australia. So instead of how long have you been on the screen, actually more relevant questions are things like, what are you doing with the technology? Who are you doing it with? What might you be doing instead? Those kinds of questions are actually more useful and more relevant.
It's not real. Well, at least in contemporary terms, it is not. What if I were to tell you that I am not even a human being? Would you believe me? What is your perception of reality? Is it the ability to capture, process, and make sense of the information our senses receive? If you can see, hear, taste, or smell something, does that make it real? Or is it simply the ability to feel? I would like to welcome you to the era of synthetic reality. Now, what do you see?
So that video was slightly weirdly framed on my screen. I'm not sure if it was the same for everybody else. I could only just see Morgan Freeman's head, but hopefully it just gave you an idea of what he was saying. I just want to play you that video again with a slightly different perspective.
And what you see is not real. Well, at least in contemporary terms, it is not. What if I were to tell you that I am not even a human being? Would you believe me? What is your perception of reality?
This short film, which definitely isn't Morgan Freeman, is known as a deep fake. So it's a really interesting, really good demonstration of the challenge we've got in helping children identify what's real in the digital world. And again, picks up on the things that Will was saying about it being really, really difficult to identify things that have been created by artificial intelligence. As adults, we know how difficult it can be to tell what's true and what isn't. In August this year, just a few months ago, Ofcom reported that 50% of 8 to 15-year-olds have seen at least one deep fake online in the last 6 months. And it isn't just deep fakes. Children can encounter misinformation where false information is shared by accident, and disinformation where false information is shared deliberately in their social media feeds, on websites, messages, emails, responses from generative AI. Things like hoaxes, phishing emails, fake videos like the one we've just seen, sponsored posts, dangerous challenges. So again, a key part of our messaging, key part of our education needs to be helping children understand that not everything they see online is real. It's absolutely key. Again, interesting to note that although 45% of children have encountered misinformation online, only 20% reported it to a parent or teacher. And that's a theme I'm going to pick up again in a second. I'm not going to dwell on these statistics because actually they pick up on a lot of the things that Will was saying. But if we're considering our approaches to online safety, we need to be thinking about new and emerging technology like generative AI. Again, I was going to talk about the potential positives of this for teachers. That's things like drafting a letter to parents, creating a quiz, getting examples for use in lessons. There are a lot of benefits of generative AI, but there are also a lot of risks. And this Children's Commissioner report highlights some of those risks, which Will talked about earlier on as well. We'll also mention the Internet Watch Foundation. So again, I've just picked out a report that they released earlier this year showing that children under 6 are being manipulated into disturbing acts of sexual abuse while at home. Their family are in another room in the house, they're nearby, they think everything's fine, but actually children can be kind of manipulated into these horrible acts, because they're online and because it's anonymous and because the perpetrator is remote from the victim. So again, really emphasizes the importance of us working together with parents. I'll come back to that point later on. But as I said, a running theme in many of these research reports is that there's a huge disparity between the number of children experiencing harm. I'm not sure why that text's so small. It's got edited on the slide, I'm afraid, but there's a huge disparity between the number of children experiencing harm online and those actually reporting it to adults. So one of the things we all need to be asking ourselves is why children aren't reporting the things that are happening to them. So with all this knowledge, and some of it can be really scary, and we all feel that we want to kind of be presenting the positive things to children as well. It can be really difficult to know what to do. So I like to use the analogy of swimming. We don't wait until children are 13 or 16 even and push them into the deep end of the pool. We let them in at a young age. We have guidelines, we have lifeguards, but we do let them into the swimming pool. We teach them how to swim safely, but we continue to supervise them. And even when they can swim on their own, we still keep an eye on them, gradually increasing their independence. And even when they can swim by themselves, we're still there for them, ready, and every child is different. Some children can swim independently at a younger age than others. And I think it's a really useful analogy for online safety as well. So just before I finish, I just wanted to go through some of the things that we do to support schools and may be able to offer to other organisations as well, if anybody's interested. So the first thing that I wanted to mention is our Active Bytes online safety scheme of work. We've got lots and lots of schools in Somerset that use this, but actually we've got a lot of schools outside Somerset that use it as well. It's fully aligned with DfE guidance. It's got active lessons in it, and that's research based to close the gap between children knowing the right thing to do and actually doing the right thing. There's a different focus each term with 2 lessons a term and an assembly every term. There are links all the way through the planning for how to share the learning with parents, and we update it all the time as well. It includes EYFS guidance, it includes continuous provision maps, things like that, which link to the early learning goals, as well as lots of other resources as well, which I won't go into in great depth. But if you are in a school and your school isn't currently using Active Bytes and you're interested, please do get in touch with me and I can talk you through it in a bit more detail. There's also some free sample lesson plans on our website there as well. Another thing that we do to support schools is provide this online safety flowchart. So again, however effective and however great your online safety curriculum is, it's likely that you are going to experience some incidents. So we provide for free this online safety flowchart that just supports you and the staff in your school with how to deal with those incidents. Just a couple more things to let you know about. I said earlier on that it's really key to try and engage parents. So if you are thinking about engaging parents, whether you're a school or a different organisation, one thing you might want to consider is our online safety parent workshop materials. It's a video basically that runs a workshop for you. It gives you supporting materials to go with it as well. And I'm really proud to say that 100% of the schools who used it last year would recommend it to other schools. On a similar note, we would also recommend that staff and governors are trained once a year as well, in addition to your kind of standard safeguarding training. And again, 100% of schools who used our pre-recorded staff training last year would recommend it to schools. So if you're interested in either of those, please do get in touch with me and I can give you more detail about it. And just like Will, I'm actually going to finish on Safer Internet Day. So I just wanted to leave you with these statistics, which are taken from this 2024 Safer Internet Day, from the report that came out following the day. And I think they serve as inspiration for all of us. It's pupil voice, it's children feeling excited, children using technology in a positive way, because we want them to be active participants in a digital world. And hopefully that gives us all some inspiration for that.